Hello and welcome to this quick Tableau tutorial on how to use parameters to control color. So one of the most common things I see with people who are new to Tableau or new to visualization software is the overuse of colors. Because it's so easy to just drag squad or a dimension onto color, people do it. And it really negatively impacts the kind of impact the visualization has. There are kind of manual ways to do this I'm going to show you in a second, but as a general rule, try and keep your colors to a minimum. So for example, in this chart, I really want to compare my team, who I'm going to pick as Liverpool right now, to an opposition team. So if I want to compare those two teams, I really want everything else to kind of fade into the background. And I don't want to lose the context, so I don't want to filter this chart to just two teams. So the way I would do this is go into Edit Colors. I'd actually make everything, I'm going to use the colorblind palette. I'm going to make everything this kind of light gray here. I'm going to pick a team. So let's just say it's Nottingham Forest for this example. And I'm going to make them that kind of blue color. And as I said, Liverpool are my team. So I'm going to pick a bright red for them. Okay. So compare what you see now in this chart, trying to pick out Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, to what it would look like in this scenario here. Okay, so it has much more impact. It's much quicker to insight. If you're dealing with any players or coaches, they'll immediately know what you're trying to show. Okay, so it's not lost at all. Now, the one step further I want to take this is, rather than coming in every week or every time the opposition changes and updating these colors, I want to have a much more dynamic way to do this. And that's where parameters can play a big role. Now, they've loads of use cases, but this is one that I quite like. So I'm going to right click down here in the data pane and I'm going to create my parameter. Now, parameter is simply a drop down list. On its own, it actually does nothing. But what we can do is get a calculated field to call it, which I'm going to show you now. But the best way to think about a parameter is it's just going to look like kind of a filter over here on the right hand side when we're done, but it is simply just a drop down. So I'm just going to call mine a team selector, if I can spell. It's going to be a string. It's going to be a list of values, and instead of me typing them out, I'm going to get them from my data set, and that is the squads. So you can see here that it's listed. Okay, now you can have that as a fixed list, or you can have an update. So for example, if you've new teams, a new season or anything like that coming into this data set, you might want it to update automatically when the workbook opens. So I'm just going to select that there. And that's it. That's how you create a parameter. Click OK, and it appears down here in a new section in your data pane down in the bottom left corner. I'm going to right click on that and show parameter control. Okay, so far we have this parameter control, and you can see as I select through different teams, nothing happens because all I've done is created the drop down list. Okay, next I want to change the color depending on what I've picked, what team I've picked here. So to do that, we're going to create a calculated field. And I'm going to call this opposition color. And this is going to be quite a simple if statement. Okay, so if my team selector, and you see it's purple, which indicates it's a parameter, if that equals squad, then 1. Now you can really put any value. As long as it's different to the next ones, any value can really go in there. Okay, so what I'm calling is if this parameter over here equals the squad name here in this list, then return 1. Else if the squad name equals my team, which is going to be Liverpool for my example, then we'll make it 2. Okay, else the number 3. And we write end. Okay, so relatively simple calculation. It's going to return 3 values depending on a couple of different conditions. The first condition is whatever the parameter says. The second condition is my team, which is Liverpool, and the third condition is anything else. So let's click OK, and we now have a new calculated field called opposition color. So I'm going to drag this onto color, and what you will hopefully see is a chart that will have 3 distinct colors in it. One for Liverpool, one for my parameter, which will be Man United, and one for everything else. So let's let go. And now we can see there's Liverpool in orange, Man United in blue, and everything else in red. And now what I can do is go and tidy this up to make these colours nicer. So again, I'm going to use my colorblind palette. I want everything to kind of fade in, so that's going to be my light grey. 2 is Liverpool, so let's go and select my red again. And 1 is Man U, which again I can, play around, maybe make it a slightly lighter blue. I'm not going to pick a different colour for every team because I want the consistency of just the opposition being a colour. So I'm going to click OK. And you can see I have a much nicer chart. So I might just go and change that. Blue will make it a little bit more standout. Okay. So now I have a much nicer chart. Colours are called out. I can start to select. There's Chelsea. There's Nottingham Forest. And each time it's highlighting what I want it to highlight, and it's doing it in a dynamic way. Thanks a million.